Hello, friends. So, this week we have been going back and learning what we're calling craft moves from an author called Jonathan London, who writes the Froggy stories. And we have been adding in these craft moves to our own writing, right? So, first on Monday, we added in transition words, which were like first, next, just kind of telling the reader how it's happening in order. Okay, and then yesterday you guys added an ellipsis or a dot, dot, dot right before an exciting part of your story. Today we are going to be adding sound effects to our writing, okay? So the Froggy books do the perfect example. I was going to try and come up with one, but I'm just going to read this story because it gives perfect examples of how to add sound effects to your writing. And then I'm going to go back and add sound effects to a first grader's writing from last year. So that way you guys can look at some writing that might look like yours. All right, Froggy's sleepover. It was Friday and school was out. Froggy flopped home from the school bus. Flop, 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 singing, hooray, hooray, it's Friday, Friday. I'm going to Max's for a sleepover. So already on the first page, Jonathan London has put in a sound effect. Flop, flop, flop. Okay, it's putting in a word that makes a sound. That's great, said Froggy's mother, and she gave him a plate of chocolate fly cookies. This is your first sleepover. Are you nervous? Who, me? Of course not, said Froggy, and he hopped up and flopped to his room. Flop, flop, flop. He pulled a big sack from his closet. Slam! Stuffed in his sleeping bag. Sloof! Oops, sorry, you guys can't see this. Squeezed in his pillow. Poof! Slapped in his pajamas. Puff! And shoved in a pair of underwear. Pum! So this page has so many sound effects. Slam, sloof, poof, puff, pum. 5 sound effects on this page. There, he said, and flopped outside, dragging his sack behind him. Sloop! Froggy, called his mother. What? Did you forget your Huggy? Oops, said Froggy, and he flopped back inside. Flop, flop, flop. I found it, he yelled. It was in the cookie jar. Slam. Then out the door he went, dragging his sack behind him. Shloop. There are so many sound effects in this book. Froggy, called his mother. What? Did you forget your toothbrush? Oops, said Froggy, and he flopped back inside. Flop, flop, flop. I found it, yelled Froggy. It was in my toy chest. Bang. Don't forget to brush, said his mother. I know, said Froggy. Then off he went to Max's, dragging his sack behind him. Sloop. Here come a lot of sound effects. At Max's, he dumped out everything on the floor. Slump, rolled out his sleeping bag. Sloof, and fluffed out his pillow. Floof. Okay, said Froggy, I am ready for bed. But Froggy, said Max, it's only 4 o'clock. So they waited till after dinner, and then they crawled into their sleeping bags. Wait, said Froggy, jumping up. I forgot to brush my teeth. Don't be a baby, said Max. This is a sleepover. You don't have to brush. Froggy crawled back into his bag. Wait, he said, jumping back up. I need my Huggy to go to sleep. Sleep, said Max. Who's going to sleep? We can tell scary stories and have pillow fights all night long. Froggy slipped back into his bag, and Max told a story that made Froggy's skin crawl. Now it's your turn, said Max. But there were weird screeching sounds and scary shapes in the shadows that looked like ghosts. I have a better idea, said Froggy. What? Said Max. Let's go to my house for a sleepover. When they got back to Froggy's, they tiptoed inside in the dark. Quiet, quiet. Crash! Froggy bumped into a lamp and knocked over the goldfish bowl. Slash! Froggy! Yelled his mother. What is all the ruckus? She flicked on the light. Oops, cried Froggy, looking more red in the face than green. We decided we would sleep here instead. Froggy, said his mother, I thought you wanted to sleep at Max's. I did, cried Froggy, but, I was hungry, and you make the best popcorn. Can you make some, please? All right, you little munchkins, said his mom. Pop, pop, pop. She made them some buttery popcorn and went back to bed. Plump, plump, plump. Froggy and Max were having a wild pillow fight. Good night, pudding heads, called Froggy's mom. I hope they go to sleep soon, groaned Froggy's dad. Me too, said Froggy's mom. Froggy's parents were snoring like horses when Froggy's mom heard a sound. Her eye popped open and she flicked on the light. Max was standing by the bed. I have a tummy ache, he said. I want to go home. So back they went to Max's, dragging their bags behind them. Schloop. But there were still weird sounds and scary shadows there. So then they went back to Froggy's. But Max wanted his pillow. So then they went back to Max's. But Froggy wanted lemonade. So back and forth they went. Schloop, schloop, schloop. Till at last, they fell asleep at Max's house at 9 o'clock in the morning. And that's a sound effect of them sleeping. So sound effects, you guys, are when you add in a word that would say a sound. Like when Froggy got hit with the fishbowl, it said crash. Or when Froggy jumps, it says flop, flop, flop. In the words actually say that so we can picture it happening in our brains. Okay, so your challenge today is I want you to try and add at least one sound effect to your story. So let's read this story from last year, and then you guys can help me. We're going to add in one sound effect. I played soccer with my brother in the backyard after school. I was standing right near the goal. I kicked the ball and scored. I screamed, I won the game. I smiled. Okay, so I'm trying to think of sounds that you hear during a soccer game. Sound effects, okay? So maybe like if you're running super fast, you could say zip. Like I was running so fast, zip. Or maybe when he kicked the ball to hit the goal, what's a sound effect when you kick something? It could say like pow, right? That would work. So let's add that in. I think that's on this page. I was standing right near the goal. I kicked the ball and scored. So right here, I'm going to add the word pow. Okay, I was standing right near the goal. Pow! I kicked the ball and scored. All right, so you're probably going to be adding your sound effects today to a story you have already written. All right? If this might not take you very long. So if you want, maybe go through all of your stories you have written so far and find a place where maybe you could add in a sound effect. All right? The thing about sound effects too is sometimes they're hard to spell because you're making a sound with your mouth that I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what letters make that sound. So don't worry, just do the very best that you can. And I want you to try and add at least one sound effect in to one of your stories. If you have some extra time, maybe go through some old stories and add sound effects into those too.